All right. Hi, everybody. This is Joy Lingerie, and I'm happy to be here with you today. And I have our guest, Douglas Arrington. He's going to be telling us how he got to where he is today as far as his music. So I do want to give a shout out to Luscious Moss Studio, my sponsor. It is owned and operated by Chad Christ out of Edgewood, Washington. And his studio is set up for recording drummers and guitarists. And he does other kinds of work there too, but that's his primary. And he has created a collaborative and creative environment for his musicians. So, with that, you can find him on Facebook going to Luscious Moss Studio. And with that, we will start our interview with Douglas today. Douglas, do you want to be called Douglas or Doug?
Either way.
Doug is easier. So, I usually start the program with an idea of how you got started, like who were your influences, what was your first instrument, and progress from there through your I know you had a full-time job for a long time, but I'm sure that you didn't put that guitar down for many, many years. So go ahead. I'm ready for your comment.
Well, my mother was interested in pushing both of us into performing or art and things like that. She got my sister into ice skating, and
oh, cool.
And she was pretty good up to a point. She was real good. Had her own costumes and all that, and she sent me to. Well, actually, I got started early because when I was an infant, the next door neighbor was in a soap opera popular in Los Angeles at the time called Divorce Court.
Yeah.
And they needed an infant in a few of the scenes to be held by one of the actresses that's like, look at me, Your Honor, my child.
Yeah, I remember that with Divorce Court.
I was given a union card at about 8 months old.
Jeez.
And then from then I went to, I started playing music very young. I was always singing. We had a hi-fi in the place, and my mother liked the standards. She liked Frank Sinatra a lot. And I grew up singing that and Tony Bennett's music and all that sort of thing. And of course, when the folk music thing started going, I got myself a Goya guitar and started to learn to play the Kingston Trio and all that. And we had a little folk singing group called the Hills Brothers. We got to open at 16 years old. We got to play in a place called the Ice House in Pasadena, which became a famous place. The guy that we were the opening act for was a young Canadian folk singer named Gordon Lightfoot.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had one or two hits out then, and we were just in awe of him. And I went on to doing that. Was in a competition where I got to play with on stage there in Pasadena and in the auditorium, and then I played in rock and roll bands, mostly Beatle covers and the local pop music in the 60s,
Yeah.
And then the psychedelic music started, and that was a whole nother thing that I was really interested in. I didn't so much play that, but I was very much interested in that. And but my love for the standards, my love for repertoire and music that tells stories, music that create emotional response in the audience and in me, that's always been my real love. And I progressed through the years playing guitar and traveling around the world working on things. And now that I'm retired, I put myself pretty much full-time into it since about 2011 or so. Yeah, like that.
Yeah. So what genre would you say that your music is? Spencer was trying Sunday night. Spencer was trying to tell us what genre, and so I thought it was more like easy listening and jazz and a mixture of all of these things, but more like a more updated, modern version of some of the beautiful ballads and things that were sung by Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and etc. So, how would you describe your music?
Well, I like fine music, and I think my repertoire is eclectic. I try to pick music from several different genres. I believe music, once it's created, Nora Jones is one of my proofs for this. She takes a song written in a very structured way to a certain genre, which would be country music, and she turns it into a blues jazz song with much more feeling. Then you take that a step further and imagine Etta James singing that song. So
Yeah.
So it's I choose a repertoire that I feel I can really squeeze the grease out of that music. I could give it a new approach and put my own stamp on it. And so it like spans all kinds of different things. I don't know what you'd call it. I just call it Doug's music. You know, it's
Yeah.
I write music too. I don't often perform the music I write. I did have an album titled by a song I wrote called "Living in a Blue Town," but I find my own music is very personal, and it's a little different for me to perform it. I mean, I feel very personal about the music I sing. Don't get me wrong, but it's not me. And some of these songs are that I write are about my father dying or my sister doing how she ended up, things like that. Things that are not necessarily entertaining to the audience. So.
Oh, right. I think that keeping music based on things that you know and have experienced are some of the best written stuff out there.
They are. Yeah, I feel real strong about those songs. It's just once in a while I'll test the waters at an open mic or something. I'll play one, see how it is.
Well, I haven't heard any of your originals, but I have heard the songs that you've rearranged, and it's kind of a process. So I'd like to know how it is that the things that you sing, some of them are recognizable, things that I've heard before, but they're different. So can you explain how you go about putting your touch on these things?
Well, when I remember a song, sometimes it's just in the morning, I'm listening to Pandora, or I'm all of a sudden a song from the past perhaps pops in my head, or a lyric.
Yeah.
And I just pull up the music, and look at the chords, and I'll go to YouTube and listen to it, and I'll think about it for a little bit. And if it's worth my interest, I'll go ahead and transpose it into where I can sing it. And I'll put it on a piece of paper and I'll print it out and I'll put it on my desk. And then I will just look at that and I'll pick it up occasionally. I might set it aside for months. And then one day it'll pop in my head and I'll look it up in my library and I'll go, yep. And it'll just happen. I'll start to feel it in a blues way that I never did before. For instance, if you take the Bob Dylan song, what is it? It's okay. The one he's leaving down the road, Yeah, it'll come to me.
Yeah, no problem.
It's one of his most popular songs, I'm walking down that long, lonesome road, babe, where I'm bound. I can't say goodbye is too good a word, that song. Well, if you slow that down a little bit and you read those lyrics, that's a blues song. That really could have a whole different, same chords, but a different beat structure, and you could change a lot of those chords to sevenths and ninths, and then it becomes a whole different song, and it becomes and what happens is the audience, like most people, have never heard all the lyrics really clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Pop songs, which are very easy to sing along with, they can sing those just right on the beat. But you take a song like Bob Dylan's song, which goes on for quite a while, or some of Elton John's music, unless you're really paying attention, you miss the pathos, the real poetry and the beauty that's in that. But when I slow it down and put it in a different way, I've had many people come up to me and say, oh my God, I never really got what he was trying to say there. And the same thing is, What Have They Done to the Rain? Or no. Is that the one? What Have They Done to the Rain? But the one by Creedence Clearwater.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, but I can't think of it.
Folks, this is the problem with two people that are a little older having an interview. We both have a limited amount of memory.
Well, we just got a comment. If you look up in your upper right-hand corner, you'll see comments on your screen.
Uh-huh.
And there's a comment from Spencer there. It says, "Hey, you two. I'm not at work, sadly, but grateful for you both. Douglas is a great musician and even more exceptional human, Spencer."
Ah, Spencer, I love you.
He is.
Who
He's a
could love that guy that was in the interview the other day? You were beautiful.
I tend to agree. I tend to agree. Yeah. So thank you, Spencer. I'm at work. My bad. Oops. I was at work. Okay. So that there's kind of a gap there about your background that I'm not quite understanding. First of all, I'm not familiar with the kind of guitar you have. Was that an acoustic or electric?
Oh, I've got a Gibson J200. That's Louise. That's the big one I play most of the time.
You name them?
They all have names, of course.
Yeah, I wrote something on the internet about how guys, when they're playing, when I listen to them and I watch them, it sounds to me like they're making love to their guitar. And I got a few negatives on that, saying, and then I got a lot of people that did agree with that.
Well,
And
it's they're all female names, just like we name ships usually.
Right.
Not necessarily Navy ships, but ships have female names. We refer to as she's a fine yacht or something like that.
Yes.
Say he's a fine yacht. So I don't know what that's all about, but it's probably out of affection. Some guys play their guitars kind of cruelly. I'm not now in rock and roll. You've got to be beating it, but a lot of people they forget in the folk music when acoustic music started to become very popular. Most of those guys were pickers and strummers. They just didn't strum. They just were constantly beating on it.
Right.
And it's so much nicer when, you hear a mix of those things in music, Of course, with Spencer, I mean, my God, he's all over the fretboard and all over the rhythm section when he's playing. You just sit back and
He's
watch.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned by playing with people who were in bands and had my own band, of course. And there wasn't any room for me to be doing anything fancy because I had a lead, and then I had somewhere in between the lead and the rhythm was a man who played like rockabilly licks and all that kind of thing. So I kept mine to just strumming, and now I'm caught because to do it alone, like you say, you need a combination of things that you can do with your guitar, and I just don't have it. I tried, I don't have it, but I'm working on it. So we got a bunch of comments coming in here. Somebody said, awesome. They didn't identify themselves. I do want you to tell me who you are when you make a comment. And there's somebody else who, I don't think this is Spencer, it might be Rosie, who said, Douglas D. Harrington is an amazing musician and human being, and I'm blessed to know him. So can you please let us know who you are? Is that right?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So
I was thinking about repertoire, and trying to answer when I said it's an eclectic repertoire. It's I was always impressed with a couple of things in music. Tony Bennett in his autobiography said,
I never read his autobiography. I'll have to look at that.
It's so good. He talks about repertoire, and he talks about how important it is for a person to establish their brand or their style through their repertoire, whatever that is. And secondly, when you go back and look at all the great singers that I'd admired so much, like Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan, Etta James, Julie London, Doris Day. I love Leslie Uggams, Diana Carroll, Bernadette Peters. These are people with some real pipes, long, sustained notes, beautiful, pure, clear singing, like Natalie Cole, just perfect. Well, they all sang the same songs, but they were the standards at the time, the pop songs at the time.
Yes.
And yet every one of them was a different way.
Yeah.
I mean,
True.
I sing "Don't Go to Strangers," which Etta James recorded in 1960, but actually Diana Washington recorded several years earlier. Completely different. And if you listen to Sarah Vaughan sing "Summertime," and then Ella Fitzgerald sing "Summertime,"
Yes, I love that song.
two
Yes.
different people.
Yes.
So I think it's real important to pick out repertoire that you feel strongly about. The words make sense to you. You know, like not like the teeny bopper songs we sang in the '60s. You know,
Hey,
my
they
party.
were good songs.
I want to. You know, I mean, that was cool to dance to, and it's a catchy tune. But you know, you can't really believe in that lyric. But things that are important to you, you know, like I do one by Mary Chapin Carpenter, "From One Sister
Okay.
to Another." It's a
Oh,
very
I
touching
need to do
song.
that.
A lot of women relate to that because they miss their sisters. Their sisters were a big part of their lives, and then they don't. You grow up, you know, and that
I think
unfortunately,
you sung that. I've heard you sing that at the Oxford. It's a beautiful song.
yeah, it's a pretty tune. But I feel strongly about it. When I first started playing, I couldn't get through the last verse. I'd start tearing up, and so that I told him I was on the right track, you know.
All right. We have that commenter that made the comment about you, and I asked him to write their name. She said, "This is Mary LaRosa, who lives in St. Augusta, Florida,
Hmm.
where she first met you."
Hmm.
So I don't know if you know her, but
I do. I do. Mary is a good friend. She's one of our neighbors, and where I get to stay, and we we've hung out many times. And in fact, I'm playing at the club there called the Beacon, where Mary's come down with a group of gals and heard me play before in
all
St.
right.
So that's I'm looking forward to the winter time. Got this whole different ensemble and music repertoire in Florida. Ranges from, you know, the kind of three chord country stuff that I play with about 30 people in this huge jam, all the way to this group, which is really good jazz guitarist. And now I've got a female sax, a flute player, and
Yeah.
she is real super talented and can sing. So I'm really been blessed with the people I've met and that I've got to play with. I played with a guy in Chicago, or a guy who came up to me after my performance, who is so much better than me. I mean, this is like, you know, if Adele came up to you and said, "I really loved your performance," you know,
Yeah.
it's like, so he came up to me, actually followed me out of this club after I did this opening for him, and he said he just spent some time on the sidewalk talking to me. Maybe it was because I'm older, and but he said, "I want to be like you when I get that old." In other words, still being in music, still being.
Yeah. Yeah.
He recognized I'm ancient, but he wanted to. You know, he probably didn't realize how he said that.
No.
But it was just a touching moment, and again, you know, I reached across to his generation at some point in that show, and
Yes.
that's, you know, that's what I love to do. And I know you do. All of us musicians, we love the feedback, the feeling that we get from the audience. That's really, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
cool thing.
Well, I was a little troubled by something you told me um, at the Oxford, and then I got to thinking about it, and I started dissecting it. I'm sorry, but I was, you said you only play with the best musician, or you try only to play with the best musicians. And then last night, Spencer made a comment about that, and he said you have a real knack for picking out people that are going to that play with you, that mesh, that are on the same page and complement each other.
Mm.
And I have in the past reserved that for gigs and whatever, and I didn't really get the best. I got the people that at the time were doing, extremely well, but not, not star stuff yet. Not to say that they wouldn't have gotten there if they'd wanted to. And
Mm.
then we grew as a band, and the more we played, the more we learned the music that each other wanted to play, because we all sang except for my lead. and it progressed into something that was never at quite the level that I would hoped it would have become, but it was certainly better than most. So anyway, at least my opinion. So when I go to jams, I don't really look to play with the best people. I kind of play with who's ever there, but I also know that by doing it, by looking for good players and having them up there playing with you, it gives the music a whole new dimension. And that's important too. Where me, I rather just take people up there who want to play. I mean, if they're good, great. If they're not, whatever. But who can fault Jerry Batista? I mean, it doesn't matter. Or somebody like Spencer up there on stage with you. So in this area, you have a lot to pick from. There are a lot of good people
There
out
are,
there.
and of course the all the good folks are busy,
Yeah,
and I mean
exactly.
it's you got to pick and choose. But one thing is, the folks that are in this group um, are all in a process of evolving. I mean,
Yes.
Spencer is
Aren't we
changing,
all?
getting
Every
better. Yeah, and I've known Jeff and Fuzzy for the last 4 or 5 years. I,
Oh yeah, Uncle Fuzzy. I
and
love
I
the
see
guy.
their music and their musicianship and their music and their singing all improve. In fact,
Yes.
Jeff, he thinks he doesn't probably believe me when I say he's really playing really good harp now, and he doesn't like the now. I think because he's like wasn't he?
Yeah, that was not good before.
Of course he was, but he has gotten better and better. And
Right.
this year, in fact, one particular tune he did in the last show he did on Summertime, he played a whole 2-verse instrumental, and Spencer played a whole 2-verse instrumental. And I wanted him to do it in a jazz way, in which they follow the melody closely. And the first time around, the second time they improvise and change the tune, bend it, give it all their inner soul as they play, which lead players do, like singers do. And both of them did it. And Jeff's harmonica playing was really excellent. So yeah, it's not so much that they're the best players, it's that they're the most potential and they're good, and I have potential. I need help sometimes, and
We all do.
you know and but every time I stand on a stage, I want to be the best I possibly can.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yes.
and and that's why I try, real hard to find the people that I can get in the groove with,
Right.
musically. Some of the people, well, I'd say most of the people are wonderful musicians that have played with me, love playing with me, because not so much that I'm a great player, but that I can sing, and the songs are ones they would love to play that they don't ever play, because nobody really plays the music I play. I don't cover
Right. Right.
all the
Exactly.
various tunes, and I think that appeals to young people too. Because Spencer, he surprised me. He says, "I really love playing with you." Here he's in all these rock and roll bands and everything like
Yeah.
that. But what? It's a left-handed or a right-handed compliment. It's a compliment, and it's a beautiful.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said that to me too, but our styles didn't jive. So he's a little more rock and I'm a little more country. And last night when he was doing the drumming for me, I had a good country picker. His name is Billy Shue. He was a guest out there, and Billy knows country. And so the songs that Spencer liked, he got to hear a real country lead play. And he was in seventh heaven. He did a great job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I
And
get it. I
he
get
he grew up with a lot of in a lot of country music too. Spencer did.
Yeah, he actually did. Yeah. I mean, he's got it in his soul, but he's also at the age where, he was growing up with that rock and all that good stuff that was coming out. So that he likes them both. I mean, that man, he's very versatile. So yeah, he can
We
do
could,
whatever, I guess.
we could spend this whole interview talking about how good he is, and not me. We had
Oh,
we had a wonderful weekend. Yesterday we played a private party in no day before Saturday. I played a private party in Snohomish, and we had a great time. I think Katie and I were on our game. We're both a little tipsy, I think, though. But we were singing, and Fuzzy couldn't play because his thumb was broken, but he was singing.
Oh no.
That's another one who's improved.
Yeah.
Less less
I
timid,
heard him. Yeah.
less timid with his voice, more bolder. He's getting out
Mhm.
there. He's really
Yes.
singing, and great guy to play with. He's like a human metronome too. He can keep the beat real well, because we're both rhythm guitarists. We're keeping the rhythm, and he he's really getting really good that way. Yeah. So it was just a great weekend. Just had a wonderful weekend playing music. It was one of those great times.
Well, we got two more comments. One, I believe Marius La Rosa is the one who said that you're definitely not old. And I'm looking at old as being over 110.
Yes, yes.
And Michael McNath, I think you know Michael, he said, hello, Joy, and I'm sure he meant you as well. And so there you go. You got some fans from Oxford
Oh, that's great.
there.
That's great. I've got some fans.
Yeah.
I've got some friends in Africa where I used
Oh,
to work, but I hear from them occasionally. But and I played in Italy with a guy who's always messaging me, and we had a great time together. And and in the South Pacific. So I played in Dubai and Qatar, and
uh,
had an open mic in in Dubai for a while. It was really a lot.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. There's a lot of secrets you have there that you haven't told me. But how is it that you ended up in Africa and Dubai and in guitar? How do they say that? Looks like guitar.
Well, I was started out as in with a background in architecture and design, and went into being my own a builder, and then eventually into project managing other projects and so forth. And eventually, opportunities opened up in the Middle East, and I went over to Dubai. And after a year, the project died, and I came back, and then I was hired by another company to go back there, and that led me to the project in Qatar.
Qatar. Okay, got it.
So now they say Qatar, but it's actually Qatar. And then I went from there to Africa, um, and built a project for an oil company that was building a campus on an island there. So yeah, a lot of that stuff. But I enjoyed travel. Is detrimental to hatred and bigotry, because you get to really see how other people live, and
Yes.
you know you can see.
People are people, no matter where they come from, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then, of course, music is everything. And people wouldn't realize how powerful our American music is. It's the most powerful music in
Wow.
the world. It's just everywhere, and everywhere people go. Can you play that song? Can you do that song? In
Oh,
Australia, I was in Australia for quite a while working on a project. People constantly wanted to hear American music, and most of the covers they do are of American songs.
wow.
It's the same thing in England, and
Yeah.
France, everywhere. So it's like I said, we're the descendants of a great generation tradition of music, and a tradition of being troubadours
Yes.
who can just walk in with a guitar, nothing else, and just perform. That's a many thousand-year-old tradition, and I'm really proud to be part of it.
We have another commenter here. I do want to interrupt this train of thought, but I'm going to come back to some of it. He said, did you know my cousin from Snohomish, Richard Chapman? And this is from Electric Dave. He has his own band called, oh gosh, I think it's called Premonition. Correct me, Dave, if I'm wrong.
I may not. I probably have met him, because I've met so many people playing at Looking Glass, Snowtowns, Oxford, and the Tim, the Thumb, and then before that we had the Rusty Pelican and so forth. So yeah, I probably have. I just might not know. I'd recognize the face, that's for sure.
Okay. Thank you for that. And so I think it would seem to me not only do you immerse yourself in a culture when you go to visit on a project or whatever, even if you're a musician and you're touring in those countries, do you not feel like you take a little bit of that with you everywhere? I mean, like once you've done that and once you've sung for them and you realize, uh, what they like, what they don't like, do you feel like,
Absolutely.
yes,
Yeah.
incorporate?
One of the big influences, and I imagine you'll interview Barb at some point, Hawaii, but was Hawaiian Polynesian music, working in Fiji, and
Oh,
working
yes.
in Australia and in Hawaii. I mean, the you talk about the reggae bait. They've got a whole nother level of that with a whole bunch of other stuff mixed in, and those guys they're all talented musicians. They all play by ear. You know, the whole slack key thing is a whole nother level of
Yes.
musicianship. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, you always take that with you, and the singing, the way the Polynesians can sing. Oh,
I don't know about Polynesia, but I do know about Hawaiian. I had a lady who had a during the time that we were gigging, um, from Hawaii, and she played the uke. And she played for her dancers. She actually taught the Hawaiian hulas and whatever. I'm sorry, I don't know all the names. And you're right. There is a flavor there that just to borrow to borrow a name from Howard Comfort, who always calls his music flavors. But anyway, there was a flavor there that when these people were dancing and she was singing and playing with her people, that you can't find anywhere else. It's totally unique, totally different, and totally buried in their culture so deeply that it comes out through their souls when they sing and play.
yeah, and in the male population, I think a tenor is a very small percentage of 100 people would be tenors of men.
Wow,
But in Polynesia, 7 out of 10 men are tenors.
tenors.
And of those tenors, 3 or 4 of them can sing falsetto.
Oh my gosh.
If you think of the black groups, what we used to call soul music,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the Drifters, all those guys, and Marvin Gaye, and all those people who had that multi range, and then how that harmonies like that those guys
Mhm.
could sing.
Mm.
That's just simple in a way that you wouldn't hear singing if it wasn't that way. It's that so incredible.
Yes.
And the yodel, they've got a whole nother take on the yodel that the women can do,
Yeah.
particularly. But and then those big, thick, fat fingers on the ukulele, and they're playing it like somebody who is playing a mandolin, and it's just unbelievable, you know.
Yes, I agree. Okay, I haven't heard. I did when I worked on Fort Lewis for a while back when it was called Fort Lewis, and I worked out there in the clubs, and they had a group, Polynesian group, that would come in and they would do the fire dances and they would do all the Polynesian dances and tables of food, and their music was just incredible. It's just, yeah, I get it. That's the only Polynesian music I've ever heard, so I don't know. I haven't been there, so I have no idea it's really like in their country.
Well, there's wonderful music all over the place.
Everywhere,
You wouldn't
everywhere.
you wouldn't believe there is a bluegrass society in Australia, and they
Oh gosh,
Appalachian music. They all get together and play American gospel and Appalachian music. Yeah, yeah.
that is so cool. I lived in West Virginia for a while. I was working with a company, and I lived there for about 2 years. And I went to everything in the summer that I could, every festival to hear that music. It is totally different than any other bluegrass or whatever you want to call it, than anywhere else in the United States. I mean, it's so unique. Each place has its own soul, and it's great to hear it, great to incorporate it. So, moving on just a little bit from this, what were you doing when we were all locked down with COVID and not knowing what the world was going to happen to music?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand the question. Say it again.
What were you doing during COVID when we were all locked down, not really sure where music was going to go and what the future was going to be like?
Well, for a large part of it, I was in Florida, and I'd go for long walks down the beach, and I'd practice every day, write music, read, watch TV. it was it was kind of a routine. I've gotten better shape because I had more time for that.
Yeah.
And,
I wish I could say the same.
well, we all gained weight because
Yeah.
that was another thing we were doing too much. I was eating, but yeah, I just got through it that way. I was in Florida, and I was and the restrictions were very limited compared to here, and it was actually sad to watch people just be flagrantly exposing themselves to the virus. There's places there that have an open mic, and that they had a screen between the audience and them, and they had the little things on the microphones, but everybody in the audience was unmasked and sitting close together.
Oh my God.
And they figured, well, because they were outside, it didn't matter, I guess. And so, and the guys who make a living at it, they were still playing in places. And, the tourists were still coming, all through the last 8 months of it. People just were openly defiant of any kind of thing to do. And that's the South. That's Florida for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
They paid the price, or a lot of people paid the price for that.
Yeah.
So I didn't really want to get it. I took the shots when they came. I stayed at home, didn't go to the gym, just did all my stuff outside, and focused on that. But it was that my journey there was probably the easiest to be imagined for a 74-year-old man. I could have died if I got it. I've got a heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Florida is full of retirees. I mean, there's a lot of people 50 years and older in Florida. So I'm sure there were numbers there that were never accurately calculated. But yeah, that's sad. That's sad.
But
So
I think the people out here and other places had it really bad in terms of affecting their work, in terms of affecting their income. I mean, my God, if you had a small business and you couldn't do business,
so many people here went bankrupt, and it's sad to go, try to go to the places that you once went to, and they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
But and this brings me to a question. A lot of people don't go to. A lot of people don't go to all the places that you go to in the Snohomish area. So I heard you playing. Do you have any music that you would like to play, or any background music you'd want to put on with you singing? I'm sure people would like to hear some of what you do.
Well, I got a YouTube channel, and I think that's the best way to hear it.
Okay.
There's the first part of the YouTube channel. It's Douglas Arrington Music, I think, on YouTube.
Yeah.
And the first 4 recordings there are live recordings in a studio, and I'm kind of proud of the first one. The others are more practice, and the musicianship could have been better and some other things. But the first song I'm really proud of, and some of the stuff I recorded from my album is on there too, with people from Florida and from here. Okay. So that'd be the best way to listen to it. And the other way to listen to it is to come to the Index Art Festival on August 6th, I believe it is. We're going to be in there about 1 o'clock. And then the week after that, we'll be at Snowtown Tavern. And then the Wednesday after that, we'll be at the Oxford Saloon. And the great Spencer and the one and only Katie Gill will be singing and playing with me. So that's.
I'd like you to send me how I can contact her and her name, if you would, on email, and I'll see if I can get her on.
That would be a lovely interview. She was.
I haven't heard her sing, so I don't know.
Oh my God, she was so good. She was been a professional musician her whole life. She made a living at it and retired. She had the busiest, most successful all-girl country swing band in Mexico, and she had a fabulous fiddle player, fabulous mandolin player, and all original music, most of it. and Katie's a wonderful songwriter. Yeah.
So, uh, what is I thinking about? Well, anyway, whatever the thought was, it's gone. I wanted to ask something about her, but I can't remember what it was. So anyway, we'll leave that pass. So looking at looking at all the things that you've done and places you've been and played and experiences that you've had on your journey, uh, did you have any really outstanding aha moments that you can remember that changed your course with music, or was it a little ones all along the way, or how would you explain what you were going through?
Well, I have to say I have some of those aha moments frequently.
Yeah.
I'll all of a sudden I'll hear a song. For instance, I never paid much attention to the words in Beyond the Yellow Brick Road,
Oh,
Elton John. Like a lot of us, you just don't get all the lyrics. So Susan or Sarah Bareilles, who is a tremendous musician, piano, guitar, and her vocal range and breath control is breathtaking. I heard her do this live concert with an orchestra Beyond the Yellow Brick Road, and I pulled up the lyrics and I started realizing what a way to tell someone that you don't want to be part of their group anymore. I mean, that song, it's got one metaphor after another that are just beautiful, and the poetry and it rhymes. But to hear her sing it, to hear her do that long breath holding that she does, see, that's just another moment for me. I'm back at that music, and I'm thinking, well, now I never try to sing what she could do. I have to sing it what I can do.
right.
And so I want to make it amazing for a man singer, as she makes it amazing for a woman singer. So that's a song I'll start taking apart and thinking about it and listening to it. And after a while, I don't want to hear her version anymore. I've got what I'm going to do.
Right.
So, and I love that. I mean, that I guess maybe that keeps me young. It's because it's always new. I'm always thinking of new songs. So I hear something at open mic or something like that inspires me.
Yes.
Yeah,
I hear you.
I don't know what I'd do without music. I really don't.
Well, yeah, I thought I could do without it. I tried it for 3 years, and I couldn't. I had to quit my band, and for health reasons, and I just couldn't go to I couldn't go any place there was music. I couldn't pick up a guitar. I couldn't do anything. And I went to visit some folks in Arizona that had played with me in my band. Excuse me. She was a keyboard player and singer, and he was the drummer and singer. And they got me back into it. I don't know how, but that was in 2019. I finally came back. And I realized that you just can't take music out of people. It's just going to be there. And at some point, it's going to surface again, no matter how much you think you can ignore it.
Yeah.
So that was your aha moment. Is your aha moments when you hear something that you finally realize what the words really are and what the story of the song is?
That's certainly one of them. And the other thing is just realizing at some point how I could interpret a song far different than the way I'd been doing it. That there's a whole nother spin I could put on this. And, I love that. I mean, look at Summertime has been covered.
Yes.
Everybody in the world.
Yeah.
But I found a way to play that with that steady progression on the 12th string that just really works for me, really. And I've had nothing but praise over that particular version. So but I knew it would be that way. I mean, when I thought about that and I played it a few times, I went, oh yeah. And I'm sure magicians have that all the time. And that's
Right.
my aha moment.
That's your aha moments. Okay. And I don't know if you print out a schedule or anything, but if you do have a schedule, and especially gigs that you were just talking about, I really appreciate if you put that on matured musicians.
Okay,
And
you
so
can
they
get
can go follow.
I,
Pardon?
I'll do that, but it's on my EPK, which is
Okay.
DouglasArringtonMusic.com. Yeah, I've got
Well,
this event schedule there, but I'll put it on your.
yeah, I would appreciate that. And the reason being that people don't always go to people's website and hit their EPK. They don't do it. Just don't do it. But if you put a bulletin in there, like, something with your gigs on it and what's coming up or what dates, they tend to look at those. But this generation, if you can't read it in a glance, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
One button, that's it.
we've all got a short attention span nowadays.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I love it. So I guess that brings us to lessons learned. You started music. You didn't really tell me what age it was, but did you have any formal training? Like, did you take guitar lessons or oops?
I did.
Okay.
Had,
So,
had guitar lessons for about 2 or 3 years when I was about 11. I'd already been playing guitar for about 4 years before that. Ever since Elvis Presley recorded, I got a guitar and I was doing Elvis Presley, boy. I'll tell you. Yeah, it was cute. I was a little kid, big guitar. I'd go places by myself sometimes even, and belt out an Elvis song, and you get a lot of adoration. And my home life situation was not that great, so I got a lot of uncles and aunts and brothers and sisters and parents through strangers, and so I kind of grew from there. I had the lessons at the same time. My mother got me acting lessons and dancing lessons and singing lessons, and so for a period of several years, I just was involved in that from a young age till I was about 12 years old. And after that, I had little folk singing groups and things like that. And
so you never really got away from it. You just recreated it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Vietnam War kind of interrupted it a little bit for me. Not permanently, but it took a couple of years out of my life, and
Yeah.
2 or 3 years. And after that, there was college, getting a job, getting married, have babies.
Yeah.
It's
a balancing act.
Someone's got to give. Yeah. So it's great being retired and being able to focus on it now.
So, how do you get all these gigs? Do you just go to the people at the place, or did they just hear you play and ask you, or are you asking them, or?
Well, nowadays it's done somewhat digitally. First of all, there's places I've played where I have a brand or people know me, so those they're easy to book each year. But after COVID, a lot of those places are
Exactly.
so,
Yeah.
most of the guys nowadays have an EPK, kind of electronic press kit.
Yeah, I have that on mine.
One-page web page, and it's got buttons where they can click to go to hear your music, where you can sell your music, all that kind of stuff. And so
I have all that.
send that to people, and or I might, in the past, I would send a picture of me. It's really good on an email, and then attach maybe 2 songs to that.
Yeah.
But usually speaking, people see the EPK and I get a booking, or I don't. The thing with the club owners, some of them never respond because they're swamped. They don't know you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tough for you if you're a touring musician, but I've got contacts now after doing it.
Good.
Places I can play in each of the places I go. But, it all depends on having some digital record of music that they can listen to. They don't need to hear you in person like it used to be.
Yeah, I hear that. I have not done this, and I haven't felt ready yet to go out there. So anyway, we do have again. Let's see. You're amazing with all your. Well, you are amazing with all your interview. Love you, lady. Proud of you, and not sure who that is. And then another great interview with a very talented person, meaning you.
Yeah.
And so those are the newest comments that have come in. For some reason, my notifications stopped for a while. So I'm sorry if there was a little delay before we got back to you. So I understand that this one thing I've noticed, and I guess I'd like your thoughts on it too. Uh, Somebody said hello, Joy, but I don't know who they are. Please identify yourself. I'll say hello back. Uh, there seems to be a lot of breweries and wineries all over this Seattle, greater Seattle area that have never been here before. So while the older venues are gone, these new venues are popping up everywhere. Have you, and usually it's one or two people. I mean, it's not a whole band. They don't go for that because I think they want to be able to talk and socialize, and band music has a tendency to get a little bit louder. So have you tried any of those venues at all, or?
Oh, yeah, I could get booked at all through Bellingham. You know, they say there's a one craft brewery for every 5 people in
Oh,
Bellingham.
really?
But I could do that, and I played up there, played up in Stanwood. You know, I could just
Yeah,
booked and do that all the time if I wanted to.
yeah,
But first of all, not all the people they're like me have lives. You know, some of them are still working. They have other things, so you can't drag 6 people around with you
yeah.
on some big schedule like that. And I don't really want to work that hard. I don't want to. I'm not here to make a living at it. I'm here to have fun
I
and
know.
to
Yeah,
provide fine music comfort to people. Through the music.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
but so this year, I've scheduled this trip to Greece. I'm going for the whole month of September,
Oh,
and I've chartered a boat there and going to do some sailing in Greece. And so I just kind of figured out what the folks could do and booked it that way. And even then, sometimes a person can't show up for some unforeseen event. So
yeah.
it's
This.
it's the difference between being a full-time musician or a hobbyist like me. It's I'm in it for
Thank you.
the fun. Like I try to invite Jerry to dinner at my house, and
Jerry Batista?
he says I am booked up every Saturday between now and December 1st. So it's impossible. I wouldn't like that. I mean, I know it's fun. I know he's good at
Yeah.
it. God, he's great at it. But I want to, I don't want to be busy all the time doing that.
Yeah, I've heard him say, that he's just getting tired, and I know we used to be playing Saturday, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and sometime weekdays, and yeah, and we all work, so after a while it can get pretty trying.
But I'll tell you, my whatever the dates are, I'm like a little kid. I truly am. I'm looking forward to them. A couple of days before, oh boy, I'm going to get to go play music. And people tell me they say they're nervous before they go on the stage, or they get even more anxious the day before, and they have to meditate and all this. And I understand that. Me, I am just like, when can I get there?
Bring it on.
I want to go now.
Yeah,
So
I get it. Yeah, I'm getting that point. No, I'm getting to that point. It's like,
isn't that a beautiful thing though, to have that
yeah,
childlike
yeah,
anticipation and energy, and those little days are milestones as you work your way through time, instead
yeah,
of trying to
exactly.
rush it through. You've got these moments that you've set aside for something special, and it's a good way to live.
Yes.
I think I found it finally.
Yeah, I hear you. And every place I go, no matter what kind of, and I'm doing all this for free. I'm not, I'm jamming with these people. I'm not involved in anything at the moment. But I just put my EPK out there a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, every single one of them has its own m- moment that you remember, that afterwards, after you've done the gig, that afterglow is there, and you think through it and you say, oh, wow. You know, it's just so it's the
That is
pay
fun. It is.
it's the payback. Yeah,
It
it's
really
the
is.
actual pay.
It really is. It's just like writing. I think everybody can write. I think there's a book in everybody. I think there's a song in everybody. And I just want all the rest of the people on this earth to have that moment, to have that feeling, what it feels like to create something or to say something, to have a voice. It,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's wonderful.
So, in closing, uh, if you if you could talk to all the people who are, starting out, all different ages, all different kinds of people in music throughout this area, because the greater Seattle area seems to be a mecca of music, all
It is.
different styles. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would be your advice, or what would you like to say to them, about music, about your journey, some of the thoughts on what it takes to get better, to get to the point where you feel comfortable with what you're doing, if you ever do.
Well, most of mine, what I know, I've learned by watching people. I learned to play chords by sitting in front of a country band at a car dealership, Cal Worthington's car dealership, with free hot dogs for the children and a country western band. And I would sit and watch that guy play that Stratocaster and learn those three chords. and but I would say to people, don't get stuck in one frame of music as you're evolving. Don't let your tentacles be chopped off when they could be branching out in all directions. You know, let your music be influenced by Latin beat, by Thai drumming, by heavy acid rock,
Oh yeah.
by bluegrass, by anything. Just uh, that's how you get old. Once your opinions and your circles get smaller and smaller and smaller, and you stay young, it's like the song says. Uh, what is it? Youth is love. Love like youth is wasted on the young. It's because the journey as you get older, your musical appreciation is going to change, and you don't want to be stuck in one genre or one way of playing. You want to keep moving.
Yes.
But
On that note about that, there's a poem out there, you probably remember who it's by, called Grow Old Along with Me, the Best Is Yet to Be."
mhm,
I think that kind of sums that up.
mhm.
Absolutely. Now, you gave me a quote earlier. I think it was about classical music. Do you remember what that quote was?
Mm, I was I don't know. A lot of the musicians their music is complicated and interesting, like Elton John, Billy Joel, Barry Manilow, even any of those great piano players were classically trained musicians. And the first lady I played with here in Washington was a classically trained musician, a graduate of a place like Juilliard. Katie is a classically trained musician. She can read and study music. She knows theory backwards and forward. And little Spencer, at 25 years old,
Yeah.
knows how to do that too. So yeah, they're important things about understand really putting music together. I've got I've got the feel for those things, but I don't have the words
Yeah.
or how to describe what it is I'm trying. That's why me as a band leader is an oxymoron. I don't think I'm a good band leader. People say I do good, but I don't. I wish I could really talk in musical terms of what I want to do, and particularly the
Right.
arranging, to be much more creative in arranging the music.
Right. Right.
So,
Well,
but I just say, stay with music your whole life and keep growing and growing, never stop.
absolutely. Absolutely. So with that, we're getting up onto the last 2 minutes. We've had quite an interesting talk here. I do admire what you do. I think you're very good at what you do. And I haven't had the chance to really get to know you. So this is a good opportunity for all the people who've been watching, and for me as well. And as we get further down the road, this will be on Facebook, my Facebook page. It'll be on Matured Musicians, and it was recorded on YouTube. So you'll be able to watch it at all three places. And oftentimes people are working or whatever, they don't get a chance until they get home to watch. So your numbers will go up as far as who's been listening to you. And I hope and I encourage people to tell other people what you heard today and to get to know Douglas Arrington and listen or go to some venue to hear his music, because it's really very astonishing and awesome. You'll enjoy it.
Thank
It's
you.
very relaxing.
Thank you very much. I want to make sure I'm going to talk to you afterwards, but I have a social party coming up that I would like you and Kurt to come to.
Well, thank you very much.
I'll give
We're,
you
we're, we're kind of down home people. I don't know. We're kind of we're more country, but not the southern country. We tend to be a little quiet. Kurt more so than me. I got a big mouth.
I'm just going to wrestle you and bring you over here with about 40 musicians and have dinner and do some.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I do want to thank you for your interview today, Doug, and I will be listening to your music, following you. And I'm sure other people who are listening will today. But one last thing I want to say to anybody listening out there, they probably still aren't, but when they tune in, do tell people to join Matured Musicians. It doesn't cost a thing. You can hear down-home stories about their musical careers, things you don't know about them that you can ask them at their next venue. And the more people we have on the site, the more people get to listen and hear and have these experiences. So thank you very much, Doug, for being here today. I appreciate it. I loved it. It's great. So take care, and hopefully I'll see you very soon.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye-bye. So that wraps up today. I've enjoyed that. Doug is a very creative and interesting person, and I'm sure there's a lot more to him than I've seen so far. I did go to a little outdoor jam with him and enjoyed myself and his music. So this is me signing off. Our next person will be coming up on 7 days from now, I believe. That's the 3rd of August. I'll have to look it up. Sorry about that. And his name is Mark Goldberg, and he is an aspiring musician. He does a lot of rock and roll and other things. He's a keyboardist and a guitarist, a great singer. So do stay. Bye, all. Thank you for listening today.